Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar this evening, Transition to Post-Secondary Life. My name is Paula West Hernandez, and I'm a manager at TASC. I'm also going to be co-presenting this webinar tonight with Anna Chun Kim. And so we will be presenting our training in just a minute. But before we do, I want to go over a few housekeeping activities to help make our time run a little bit more smoothly together. And as you may have heard, we are recording this webinar this evening. So if you need to leave early, or if you want to review something, or you want to invite somebody else to participate in listen to the webinar, we will be posting it on our website. And you can see that at www.taskca.org, and just go to our YouTube page, and the recording will be posted there in a few days. It takes us a few days to get that posted, but that way you can review it. Also, too, we've muted everybody tonight. So if you have questions, though, please put them into chat. And we have Denise with us this evening, who is hosting. She's letting everybody in, but she'll also be reading the questions to Anna and I as we get to our or to Anna and me as we get to our the section in the webinar where we're taking questions. So you'll have 4 opportunities during the webinar. Each time Anna and I switch and we finish our section, we'll open it up for questions, and Denise will answer ask us the questions at that time that you're posting into chat. If you have individual questions about your individual cases and you want to talk with a family support specialist, please send us an email at our TASC email, and I'll give you that in just a second. But you can email us at our TASC email, and we'll be happy to connect you with a family support specialist who will go over your concerns with you, your questions, and then talk with you about the options that you have. Let me see. We will be also handing out the PowerPoint handout and a resource sheet this evening, and Denise will be posting that in chat so that you can access it there. If for some reason you're not able to get it through chat, please send us an email and we'll send that out to you tomorrow sometime. Okay, so we want to make sure that you get that. Also, too, we do have a survey link at the end of our webinar. And so if for some reason you need to leave early, we will be putting that link into chat. And if you can please go to the survey link and complete it before you leave the webinar, that would be wonderful. So we receive federal and state grants, and our grantors ask us to do certain activities, and the grants that we receive allow us to provide free services to families and professionals. And so I love the price tag of free, you can't beat that. So we'd like to be able to continue to receive the grants that we receive from the federal and state departments of education, but we need to show them that we're doing the job that they're funding us to do. So if you would please go in and answer those questions on the survey, that would be terrific. It also helps us to know what we can do to improve our services. If a question in the survey doesn't apply to you, please put NA, and that will indicate that that question doesn't apply to you, okay? If you put a 1 or a 2, that indicates that we're doing a very poor job. But if you put an NA, that just says, oh, this doesn't apply to me. So I think that's it for our housekeeping. Again, I told you I'd give you our email address, and that is task@taskca.org. That's task@taskca.org. And you can always call us at our toll-free number or our 714-533-8275. You'll speak with our receptionist, and then she will connect you with a family support specialist who can go over your questions, concerns, and then provide you with options. Or you can email us at the TASC email address. All right, so now I'd like to go ahead and turn the mic over to Anna, and she's going to go over the first part of our presentation. Then when she is finished with her portion of the presentation, we'll open it up and take questions at that time. Okay, Anna?
Hi, I'm Anna, and I'm a family support specialist at TASC. And I would like to share with you a little bit about our organization. TASK is a nonprofit organization, serving Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Diego, and Imperial counties. Our task office, we have 4 locations. Brea, which is our main office, Alhambra, Riverside, and Spring Valley. Task is a parent training information center as well as a family empowerment center. Our mission statement at Task is to educate and empower people with disabilities and their families. At Task, some of the services that we provide are individual telephone assistance as well as one-on-one virtual consultations. We also review IEP documents and evaluations. These days, because of this COVID situation, where we are doing much of these services remotely, so we are providing these services virtually. And then just like today, we also provide educational webinars, and we have many more other webinars coming up. So we provide these services. One disclaimer that we would like to share is that task staff are not advocates or attorneys, so we do not provide recommendations or legal advice or suggestions. Our family support specialists offer peer-to-peer support, information, and options to parents of children with disabilities so they can become informed members of the IEP team and work collaboratively with the schools. So our job is to just provide information and resources so they can work as a collaborative team with the rest of the IEP team. And our webinar for today is the transition to adult life. Before we actually get into the webinar, I would like to share a U.S. Department of Education disclaimer. The contents of this PowerPoint were developed under a grant from the Department of Education. However, those contents do not necessarily represent the policy of the Department of Education, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government. So that's just to keep in mind. So our workshop or our webinar, Transition to Adult Life, our agenda for the webinar includes, we will be talking about Individualized Education Program, the IEP, as well as the Individual Transition Plan, the ITP, the Adult Services and Independent Living, the Transition Assessment, Post-Secondary Goals, Agencies Who Can Help, Students and Self-Advocacy, Parents as Advocates, and laws that pertain to transition and post-secondary life. So these are what we're going to be talking about today. And these are some of the acronyms that you will encounter as you go through the transition planning. And some of these acronyms we will also be talking about in our presentation today. So keep this as your reference. So to go into our topic, the first acronym that we're encountering is IEP. So what is an IEP? We all know what it means to have a plan. If there's a goal you want to achieve, you need to have a plan that will guide you and lay the steps you need to take to obtain the goal. For example, if you want to go on a trip, you'll need to plan how you'll get to your destination. You need to know what you will bring, but most of all, you need to know where you're going. Creating an IEP is a lot like planning a trip. The difference is, instead of organizing a vacation, you're planning for your future. So the IEP is an official legal document created by a team that includes parents, teachers, school personnel, and most importantly, you, the student, whose education and life it will affect the most. It gives detail about how you are doing and what your goals are in terms of school or work, and it states what the student is able to do and the goals they would like to reach. If this is your first IEP meeting, you and the rest of the team will develop your first IEP. You will then meet annually to review and update your IEP so that it reflects your current strengths, needs, and any changes. A new thorough evaluation is only required every 3 years, unless you and the school agree it is necessary. If you or your parents or the district feel that an evaluation needs to be completed sooner, it can also be requested as well. An IEP also states the accommodations that the student will receive. Then what are accommodations? Think of accommodations as a map or GPS for someone who is planning a trip. They are tools that can be used to make the trip easier. Your IEP is designed to not only clearly define your performance and accommodations, but also to help your teachers become more aware of your disability and how it affects your ability to learn. If and the IEP, it must be revised as the students make progress and faces new challenges and as new accommodations become necessary. So an example would be if you have a difficult time being attentive or experience impulsive behavior due to your ADHD, an IEP accommodation may provide a distraction-free environment during tests or perhaps movement breaks so that you can better pay attention in class. Or perhaps you're extremely anxious and freeze during tests um, or get overwhelmed walking between classes from class to class. So an IEP accommodation in that case um, could provide untimed tests or a hall pass that allows you to move between classes before or after other students. So things like that would be considered an accommodation that can be added in the IEP. So then what should be included in every IEP meeting? Well, there will be a team leader at your meeting who will write a statement about your current levels of academic and functional performance and goals, such as social, behavior, and motor skills. This information is based on data such as test scores and observations from your family and other team members. And some of the things that may be included in the meeting are present level of educational performance, which is the PLEP, a measure of the student's level of education and functional performance. Also, what should be included in the IEP meeting are annual goals, which are a list of student-specific goals and standards used to measure their progress. So annual goals, the team reviews what progress you have made toward meeting your annual goals. Then together, you develop new or revised goals for the coming year. It's important for annual goals to be specific, measurable, and personalized for you. Okay. And so another thing that should be, as well as annual goals, another thing that should be included in the IEP meeting are individualized supports and other related services. And these are supports and services that students need to benefit from special education and meet their IEP goals. And finally, what should be included in the IEP meeting is the individual transition plan at age 16. A plan that includes goals and services to help the student transition from high school to adulthood. Okay. Then what exactly is transition? Transition is not an event, but it's a process. So consider how you arrive to the place where you are today. Some of us know from an early age where we want to go, so we follow a very specific path. However, others might wander along the way. IEP transition planning is more than just a brainstorming session. It's a formal process in which a plan is developed that is designed to help you decide what you want to do after high school. The transition process begins with the IEP that is in place when you turn 16. However, in reality, this process can begin well before the age of 16. So then, you know, if transition is very important, then what is the purpose of this transition plan, of the individualized transition plan? And right now, I'm going to pass the mic to Paula, who and she's going to share a little bit about the purpose of the individualized transition plan. Or actually, before she presents, if we have any questions, maybe we can take any questions.
No questions right now, Anna.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and thank you, Anna. I'll go ahead and speak, but if you do have a question about the portion that Anna presented and you'd like to ask that, I'd be happy to stop anytime during my part of the presentation and answer those questions as well. So, okay, so let's talk about the purpose of the ITP. So as Anna mentioned, the ITP is a document that is written as part of the IEP. So the IEP stands for Individualized Education Program, and you have a meeting, which is called the Individualized Education Program meeting, and at that meeting you develop the document. And then when you turn 16, so as a student, so we're talking from the student's perspective, so when you turn 16, you will you'll have what's called an individual transition plan, like Anna just talked to you about. And that plan, and the purpose of developing that plan is to help the ITP. So we're gonna call the individual transition plan now, we're gonna call it an ITP. So the purpose of the ITP meeting is to let the district members of the team know what your preferences are, what your goals are, your dreams, your hopes, what you would like to do, what your strengths are, your weaknesses, you know, areas that you can grow. I think that's a better way to say it, right? What areas you'd like to pursue, you know, what are your hobbies, your interests, all of that. So the ITP is going to outline that, and it's going to, goals will be developed, and services will be put into place in the ITP that will direct the services that you will receive as a student as you transition from high school to adulthood. So you as a student are a real big part of that team. And without you, they wouldn't even have an ITP, right? Because you are the main star of the ITP. And of course, your family as well. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But so the whole purpose is to create a plan that is a roadmap and will give the rest of your team a freeway or a highway to travel to help you as you transition from high school to adulthood. And it will help the team to be able to support you in the path that you want to take. Okay, so it is about you, and your input is very, very important. And it's so important for you to be included in your ITP meetings. It's essential that you're there because the meeting is about you. So some students aren't very comfortable attending the meeting. They feel a little bit overwhelmed. And if that's the case, that's okay. There's other ways that you can participate besides going in person. You can, maybe you can create a PowerPoint, and that can be presented at the meeting, and you can, in the PowerPoint, you can outline, you know, your desires, your hopes, your goals, what you'd like to do once you graduate from high school, but also you know, what things you'd like to work on while you're in high school, or things that you'd like to concentrate on while you're in high school. Maybe you need to have some extra training to know how to research things or use the computer, or with math calculations, or understanding safety, you know, signs or things like that, or learning how to shop. There's all different things that you might need help with in order to meet your transition goals. So all of that's going to be outlined, and you can put that in your PowerPoint to help the rest of the team know what you would like. Or you can create a video and you can talk to the rest of the team through your video. Or you can write a letter to the team, the rest of the team. And I say rest of the team because you're a part of that team. So you can create a letter and you can have somebody at the meeting, your parents perhaps, read the letter to the rest of the team. However you choose to participate, just know that your voice is very, very important. And the rest of the team wants to know about your thoughts and your dreams and your hopes and what you'd like to see happen. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. So let's talk about the transition journey. So as we've talked about, the transition, it's a journey. You're going to be on a highway and you're traveling from this destination, which is high school, into adult life. That's going to be your end goal. And just like a highway or a freeway, there's different lanes, right? So just because you start in one lane on the freeway doesn't mean you have to stay in that lane until you get to adulthood. You might change your mind. You know, you might start out saying, oh, I really, really want to work in a vet office. And then by the time you get to be an adult, you might decide, I really don't want to go to school. I really would like to work maybe get a certificate at either a regional occupation program, or I'd like to go straight into employment from high school. So whatever your journey starts out as, know that you can change it. You're not stuck in one lane. You're able to transition lanes, and you can do it more than once if you need to. Okay, so that's the beauty of transition. It's flexible and it's an individual transition plan, and it's designed for you, by you, with the support of the rest of your team. Okay, so there's a law. It's called the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and this law is the federal law that governs special education. And this law says that IEP teams, or Individualized Education Program teams, need to meet and develop an IEP. And when the student is age 16, then an ITP, or an Individual Transition Plan, needs to be developed. Okay, so you've already learned about that because Anna talked to you about that. And this law requires that certain key components are included, or goals and services are included to address the following areas in an ITP. And those areas are post-secondary education. So that would be like whether you're going to go to community college, university, maybe you're going to participate in a regional occupation program, or you're going to participate in adult education. But it's some kind of education that you might take and be involved with after you leave high school. So post-secondary just means you're leaving high school, or it's after high school. You need to address vocational education, and that actually is more like career exploration, or education related to employment and job exploration. So maybe you want to explore and go into some type of certificate program, so that, or you want to just explore different options for education. You also, the ITP needs to address integrated employment, and that's where you can get job experience, and you get paid a comparable wage to other people while you're participating in that integrated employment. And we're going to talk a little bit more about agencies like Department of Rehab and Regional Center, as well as school districts who can help with integrated employment in a little while. And then the ITP needs to address continuing and adult education. So maybe when you leave high school, you want to participate in some classes that are offered by continuing or adult education programs. We also need to, the ITP also needs to address adult services, like independent living. How are you going to live independently? What type of housing are you going to access? You know, what type of transportation? So we're going to talk about some of those areas in just a little while as well. So these are the main areas that should be covered in your ITP. Okay, so we're going to go to next slide. So this is a diagram. So if the ITP, so we can kind of categorize those areas that we just talked about, can be categorized into 3 distinct categories. Makes it a little bit easier. So the ITP team needs to talk about living, like we talked about. That would include independent living, you know, your housing, all of that type of thing, your transportation. How are you going to get around? Are you going to drive? Are you going to take public transit? You know, that all of those questions can be incorporated into that category. And then what about learning? Do you need to learn while you're in high school? Do you need to take specialized classes like computer classes, or developing a resume? Do you need to learn how to develop a resume? Some things like that. And then are you going to go, once you leave high school, are you going to participate in either adult education, community college, university? Those questions will be answered in this category. And then work. What type of work are you going to pursue? Are you going to go straight into employment after high school? Or are you going to get a college education or a certificate so that you can be better prepared to go into your preferred employment? So those are the categories that will be dealt with in the ITP, and we'll go into those a little bit more as we go on here. But those categories will be addressed in the ITP, and then the end result of your journey is you will be in adulthood, or you'll be in adult life. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So before any IEP services or any ITP services can be provided, the district has to do assessments. So nothing can be provided until the assessments show the need for a service to be provided. So what happens is the district will complete assessments, and then once they complete the assessments, goals will be developed based on the outcome of those assessments in the areas where the student needs more support, where you need more support. And then once the goals have been written, then the ITP team, including you, will determine what services will be put into place to help you meet those goals. Okay, so that's how it works. And so let's see, let's go ahead to the next slide. So the components that need to be included in the assessment would be the student's interest, or your interest as a student. The team needs to know about your opinions, your attitudes, and your preferences. You know, maybe you really don't like working in large groups. Maybe you prefer to work independently. Or maybe you're very social and you'd prefer to work in a large group. Or you really don't want a job that deals with math or numbers, but you love, you're a great communicator. So the assessment is going to determine some of those aptitudes that you have, and abilities that you have, and the interests that you have. Some people might want to work, in an office setting, while other people might want to work outdoors. Some people want to work independently, while others want to work with more supervision, and other people want to work in a social setting, where some people might want to work by themselves. So we're all unique individuals, and the assessments will show what type of setting works best for you and what your preferences are. And preferences talk about, what are your values, and what do you believe in, okay? And then your aptitudes. What are your abilities? It's just another word for abilities. What are your abilities and the other characteristics that you have that make you unique? And abilities, that's just your natural talents. Maybe you're, like we said, maybe you're really musical, or maybe you're a really good communicator. My son's a great writer, and he loves to write poetry, and so that's what he wants to do. He's working toward becoming a published poet, and he's already published in a couple of magazines, but that's his gifting. So we want to know, what is your gifting? What are you naturally good at? And then what are some learned skills that you have that would contribute to your gifting? Okay, next slide. So who does the planning and why? Okay, so we already talked about the student. You're the the main component of the ITP, because like we said before, without you, there wouldn't be a need for an ITP, right? So you're the star of the team, and your voice definitely needs to be heard at that meeting. So you're at the top of this, of who needs to be included in this ITP. And then of course, your family should be included in the ITP. Your parents, your guardian, you know, your foster parents, whoever is in your mentor or your family, that person should be at the IEP, or those people should be at the IEP meeting. Now, I want to take a minute here to talk about age of majority. And I know it's not in this slide, but I want to add it here because it's really important. So when you turn 17, the district members of the team are going to let your parents know that in 1 year, when you turn 18, all decision-making regarding your education is going to be taken from your parents, and it'll be given to you. So your voice is going to be the one that they're going to listen to regarding educational decisions at your IEP and ITP meetings. And that will happen when you turn 18. So if you want your parents to continue to make your educational decisions for you once you turn 18, you can do that by taking a form. It's called the Assignment of Educational Decision Making Authority form, and we have that at Task, but you can take that and have it notarized. So you take it to a notary, you sign it in front of a notary and witnesses, and the notary will document on that. Then once you turn 18, then you turn that into your ITP team members, the district members, so that they can see that you've given your parents permission to continue to make your educational decisions for you while you're in high school. So, so I just wanted to let you know that that will happen. And for parents, just know that you will become invisible at those. You can continue to attend the meetings, but the district members of the team are going to talk to your child instead of you once your child turns age 18. And they will ask the child to sign the IEP document, unless they give you permission to continue to make their educational decisions, or unless you have conservatorship. Okay, once your child turns age 18. Okay, now who's involved with the school team members of the team? So first of all, you're going to have an administrative designee, or sometimes they call themselves the district admin or district designee. And this is a person from the district who has the knowledge and ability to make decisions, and they understand the special education system and programs within the system. And then if there is a transition specialist in the district, that person should be at the ITP meeting. If there are related service providers whose areas are going to be discussed, such as occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, transportation, assistive technology, nursing, mobility, orientation and mobility for someone who is blind. If any of those areas are going to be discussed, then they need to be at the meeting. A general education teacher, if you're in a general education setting for any part of the day, and if you're in a special day class or a specialized academic instruction program or a resource specialist program, one of those teachers needs to be at the meeting, and it needs to be one of your teachers, not just any teacher that's a special ed teacher, but one of your special ed teachers, and one of your general ed teachers should be there. Also, if anybody has completed an evaluation on you, such as the transition assessments, those people should also be at the meeting. And if people can be excused only if you're age 18 and you want to excuse one of the team members, if you and the district agree to excuse the team member, they can be excused. Or if you're under 18, if your parent and the district members agree in writing to excuse a team member, they can be excused. But if both parties don't agree in writing, then the team members will need to attend the IEP meeting. And then also other people, other agencies should be at the ITP meeting if they're going to provide assistance and supports. So many times the Department of Rehabilitation is involved with students while they're in high school and going through transition. So if that's the case and their area is going to be discussed, then they should be at the meeting. Perhaps Regional Center, if Regional Center is also providing transition assistance, then they should be at the meeting. And then about other organizations. So you can invite any other organization to the meeting that you feel has knowledge of you, or if your parents would like to invite people and you're under 18, then they can invite people to the meeting as well. And those might be people like a mental health professional, a physician, maybe a tutor, somebody who's done a private evaluation. Those are examples of other organizations that can be invited to the meeting. So actually it's just anybody who has knowledge of you or your child, if you're the parent, and who you feel can contribute and give more information about what the student or your child needs as far as transition goals and services. Okay, next slide, please. So we're going to go through quite a few slides right now that are going to talk about what you're going to need to become an independent adult and some areas of independent living that you can participate in and learn in. These are areas that you can grow and learn in at home with the assistance of your family, but also these areas can be incorporated or put into your ITP. So you can develop goals for these areas and then ask that services be provided to help you meet these goals, or the goals in the ITP. So if a goal is written in the ITP, a service needs to be provided to help you reach that goal. Okay, so that's the whole purpose. We need to know what services, what are you working toward and what service do you need to help you get there. Okay, so the first area we're going to talk about is personal care. So in personal care, it's really important if you're going to be going out into society, into the community, and you're going to work, or you're going to be going to school, or you're going to participate in high school, we want to have good hygiene. And we want to make sure, that we regularly shower and regularly brush our teeth, and we're wearing clean clothes. Okay, so those are important things. It's important for our well-being, our mental well-being, and our physical well-being if we stay fit. And we can do this by joining a gym, perhaps, joining a softball team or other community team, going swimming, walking. Of course, now we're going to follow social distancing guidelines and health guidelines. But, or if you can exercise in your home to a video, you can get things on YouTube and download those and exercise in the privacy of your home. But whatever you do, it's really important just to get good exercise and eat well. And then as you go into adulthood, it's really important to know the dangers, of smoking and drugs and alcohol, using alcohol and unprotected sex and abusive behaviors, so that you can know about the dangers and then you can make educated decisions and choices about all of those things. And then it's important, that you know how to get in touch with your doctor. Do you know how to get medical help? Do you know who your doctors are? If you have your medical doctor, your primary doctor, your specialist, if you have those, your dentist, do you know how to get a hold of them? Do you know where their offices are? Do you know their telephone numbers? Do you know how to make an appointment? So if you don't, then these things can be things that you can work on at home or in your transition plan. And once you get to the doctor, do you know how to ask questions? And then do you know how to follow the directions that your doctor gives to you? And do you know how to get a prescription filled and then to follow the directions so you can take your medication? All of these things are things that you can be working on now with your families and also in your transition plan. Okay, next slide. So we're going to talk about laundry, right? We said we all want to have clean clothing. So if you want to move out, it's going to be really important that your laundry gets done. And so you can learn to do that. You might you might have the luxury of having a washing machine in your home and dryer in your home, but if not, you may need to learn how to do your laundry in a laundromat. So you can practice those things while you're living at home now, so that you'll know how to do those things once you leave your home, if you do choose to move out. And then if you do need to learn to do laundry, you can break the job into small steps. So that'll help you learn, to make the job a little bit easier. And then you can ask your family to teach you how to break, they can help break the job down for you into small steps, like sorting your laundry, putting it in the washer, adding the soap, and then putting it in the dryer, and then folding your clothes and putting them away. So that would be how you'd break it down, and those are steps that your family can help you do as well. And then it's important to create a list of supplies that you're going to need. You might need laundry soap, fabric softener, maybe a bleach product, and other supplies that may be a laundry basket. So you want to make a list of things that you're going to need in order to do your laundry. Okay, next slide. So money management is a big part of learning to live independently. And so if you're living alone, it's really important to know how to budget your money. You need to know how to make the money last for the entire month instead of spending it. As soon as you get that money, it's spent. And then, I can't pay my bills, right? So you need to know how much money you need to pay your bills, like rent, utilities, a phone bill, your cell phone bill, your cable bill. You need to maybe have a savings account so you can go out and have fun with your friends, have entertainment, maybe save up for a vacation. So it's really important to know how to do that. And you can ask your family to help you make a list of the things that you need to pay for on a regular basis, and then other expenses that you're going to need to save for, like we said, like entertainment and a vacation and emergencies. And then you also need to know how to download apps. So you can go to the App Store on your smartphone or your tablet, and there's a lot of apps on there that talk about money management, budgeting, help you to organize all of that. If you'd like to learn more about that, we have a fantastic assistive technology center, and they are so good about finding apps to help with all kinds of daily living, including money management and budgeting. So you can call us or email us at that number and ask us to speak with at the number that we gave earlier, or the email, and ask to speak with somebody in the technology department. And you can have a Zoom lab with them where they will go over the different apps that are available to you on your smart device. Okay, and then and that will help you manage your money. Okay, let's go to So just in case you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm blind, and I'm reading through my Braille device. So I use a Braille device, and I have the PowerPoint on my Braille device. So I'm just reading through my slide to make sure that I've covered everything. One thing that I do need to mention is that you need to work with your family to determine how you're going to manage your money, and how you're going to, when you move out from home. So some people want to manage, they have an account and they manage their bills and they pay their bills. Other people have what's called a payee account. And so if you receive supplemental security income or Social Security disability insurance income, or even a paycheck, that can go into a specialized account called a payee account. And then a payee will be designated, who will be the person that will go into the account, and they will pay the bills, but they'll also send or give you an allowance each month so that you can start practicing, budgeting that money. Maybe you get the money every 2 weeks as if it was a paycheck, so that you can either buy, maybe it's for entertainment, or maybe you get grocery money. So for my son, he's an adult, but I'm his representative payee. And so every 2 weeks he gets money so that he can go out and he can do his grocery shopping. So that's how we've managed it. But you set that up so that it's a good plan for you and it makes sense to you and to your family. And so if you want to set that up so that you take care of everything, that's great. Maybe, or you can have a payee account, or you can have a combination. So however you want to do that, you can do it, but it's good to practice those things at home. And it's also important to know that we can put, sometimes having a credit card that has, it has a prepaid amount in it. And once you've spent that amount, you don't have any more money on the card until you put more money onto the card. That's another way that you can manage your money so that you don't create a lot of debt with credit cards. So a topic that's really important to discuss with your parents is, what are the consequences if I get a credit card and I spend too much? Because with credit cards, if you don't pay the balance off every month, you end up paying interest. And then if you don't pay the bill, then they add on late fees. So it's really important to know about those things so that you can manage your money wisely. Okay, next slide. We're going to talk about food management. Okay, so that's another aspect of living independently. So you'll know how, not only do you know how, you have to know how to shop for food, right? You need to know where the grocery store is, and you need to know how you're going to get there. Are you going to take rideshare, public transportation, drive, have somebody drive you there? But you'll know once you get the food home, you need to know how to store the food. Are you going to, do you put everything in the cupboard? No, because some things like milk and eggs can go bad if they're put into the cupboard. So you're going to put some foods in the refrigerator, and you need to know what foods go in the freezer, and what foods can be safely stored in the cupboard, like cereal and rice and pasta. So these are things that you can practice at home. And some things that you can do with your parents are, you can create a grocery list together and shop together, come home and put the food away together, and then create a meal for the family together. And that will help to teach you, about food management. Okay, next slide. Let's talk about getting around, transportation. We just talked about how you're going to get to the grocery store. So this is important to know, not only to the grocery store, but, how are you going to get to school so you can participate in your high school classes, but also into your individual transition program? How are you going to do that? So you're going to need to know how to travel. And you may travel independently, or you may travel with support. You might have somebody traveling with you. But either way, it's going to be important for you to know how to communicate, where you're going to go so that somebody knows where you're going to be, to know how to follow directions, to know how to use a GPS, because you can use a GPS whether you're walking, taking public transit, or driving. GPS can be used for those things. And so if you're going to take the bus system or the train system, like that's called the public transit system, if you're going to be taking those systems, then you can practice that with your parents, or you can practice that as part of your individual transition plan. Maybe you have a transportation goal that you're going to learn how to use the bus system and the train. Or you're going to learn how to use rideshare. Maybe you're going to learn how to drive. So all of that those factors should be included in your individual transition plan. You need to know the cost of those, of taking the bus. How much does a bus pass cost per month? How much will it cost to take the train? How much will it cost to take rideshare each month? How much will it cost to fill my gas tank? And how often do I need to fill my gas tank? And, I'm going to need to save for maintenance on my car as well if I'm going to drive. So these are things that you're going to need to talk about. And then what about driver's ed? If you're going to participate in driver's education, is that going to be part of your ITP? So that is something that you and the team need to talk about, the driver's ed portion of that. How is that going to be managed? So all of these things, are things that you can work on as part of your ITP and also at home. So maybe at home, parents, you can help your child by, planning a trip with them, helping them to plan a trip. And then the student can, you students, you can purchase the tickets, whether if you're taking a train or you're going on rideshare, you can go ahead and set up that on rideshare and learn how to use the Lyft app and the Uber app to get to the train station. You buy the tickets for the train, you get on the train, you get to your destination. And so you can plan that trip together, and then you can go through all the steps that it will take to fulfill that trip and then to get back home. So we already talked about knowing, communicating. Okay. Okay, I think we talked about that. So let's go to the next slide. And Anna, I don't know if I just skipped over slide 23. So I'm on slide 24 now, just so that we're on the same slide. Okay, so let's talk about shopping. Okay, this is one of my favorite activities, actually. But anyway, so you don't just shop for groceries, right? There's other things that you're going to need to shop for, like clothes and shoes and electronics. There's all house cleaning and vacuums and all kinds of stuff, house cleaning supplies. So you're going to need to know where the different stores are that you can buy things at. Where are places that you can buy clothes and shoes? There's places like Kohl's, and they have both there. They have clothes and shoes in the same place. And then there's other stores that just sells clothing and no shoes. So you need to learn those things. What places are close to you? And one thing that parents can do is you can pre-program addresses into the GPS, so it makes it easier for your child to access those addresses in GPS if they're places that they're going to go to frequently, like the grocery store or the mall or clothing store or shoe store or any of those places, maybe the doctor. You can pre-program those addresses into a GPS for them. And so you want to be able to see what is around your home. And we also want to know what is your clothing size, so that when you go shopping, you can pick out the right size clothing. And also too, what is your what size shoe do you wear, so that you buy the correct size shoes. Okay, next slide. Let's see. Okay, so now we're going to talk about post-secondary goals. Okay, so remember we talked about before that you're going to have the transition assessment completed, so that we know what type of goals need to be written in the ITP. Okay, we've talked about some independent living things that can be included in the ITP, but now we want to talk about the goals that you should be working toward in your ITP. So what should a good goal contain? Well, it should contain, first of all, the baseline. Where are you currently working? What are you currently able to do? And then it should tell what you're going to work toward. What are you working toward? And then it should have a written measurement. So all goals, or all goals should have a written measurement. The goal shouldn't say, John is going to be able to use the computer to research community colleges. He'll write a paper talking about the local colleges that he's visited and what they have to offer. But and it's going to be measured by observation. Okay, so that's a really rough goal. I apologize for that, but in that goal, that goal did not include a written measurement, so that wasn't a very good goal. Okay, because every goal should have a written measurement, something that you can refer back to, so that you can see if you're making progress toward meeting your goal. Okay, and that measurement, in that case, it could have been your written report, but in that example, but you can also have maybe samples of your work, therapy logs or related service logs, teacher notes, you know, that type of thing. Charts that maybe your related service providers, your teachers are keeping. So all of those are forms of written measurements. The post-secondary goals should also address education. You know, what are your goals going to be for education? And we kind of talked a little bit about this before, but are you going to work toward getting, let's say, a teaching credential? You might want to be a preschool teacher, or you might want to work in a veterinarian's office, and those types of things include a college education. So are you going to work on a college education? Does it require a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree? Or are you going to go to and earn a certificate? Maybe you want to go into culinary art and you need a certificate to be able to do that. And so you want to go to either regional occupation program, an adult education program, or community college to get a certificate. So you'll have a goal. And we're going to talk about some samples of goals for each of these areas in just a minute. Okay, and then you also want to talk about vocational training. What kinds of areas do you need to be trained in so that you can become employed? And what kind of jobs can you participate in high school while you're working on your transition plan, or while you're working on the transition plan goals, so that when you become an adult, you'll know better how to do that type of job. So we need to have goals that address your vocational training. And employment. What types of employment goals are you going to have in your ITP? You know, and we'll talk more about that in just a minute as well. And then independent living. We've talked a lot about the types of things that you need to know in order to live independently. And so we want to talk about goals to address independent living. And what do you want to do after high school? Those goals are called post-secondary goals. So you're going to have goals written into your IDP that are going to address what you're going to work on while you're in high school. And those goals will be written on an annual basis every year. But then you're also going to talk about post-secondary goals. What goals do you want to work toward once you become an adult? And then we're going to talk about once you've written all those goals, then of course you're going to talk about services that are required to help you benefit from your education and to help you meet the ITP goals. Okay, next slide. So here's some examples of some post-secondary goals. So these are the goals that you're going to work on after you leave high school. Okay, and you can work on them while you're in school, but these are things that you're going to continue on. These are things you're going to do once you leave high school. Maybe that's a better way to say it. So employment, here's a sample of that goal. So after high school, I will get a job teaching young children. Okay, and so for education and training, so a post-secondary goal would be after high school, I will enroll at my community college and earn an early childhood certification. Okay, independent living, a post-secondary goal would be after high school, I will live on my own. And then then you would also include as part of the service exploring living options. Okay, and now here's some examples of annual goals. These are goals that you're going to work on while you're in your ITP, and these can be renewed every year. Okay, so I will complete a job application online. I will create a job application template. I'll create a resume. I will fill out an application for college. I will apply for financial aid online. I will write an essay about my career choice as a preschool teacher. I will develop a budget. Okay. Okay, so right now I want to open it up to questions. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those now.
Yes, we have one, Paula.
Okay.
Are transition assessments being done at this time?
Yes, they are being done at this time. A lot of our schools are, you know, they're back in session. They might be on a hybrid, but even if they're not, even if your school isn't in session, every component of the IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and all requirements of that law are still in effect right now. And so if the district needs to do a transition assessment, then they should be doing that and following the assessment timeline. And that assessment timeline, if you're not familiar with it, is you will have 15 days, or you'll write a letter to the Director of Special Education requesting an assessment. Once the district receives your written request, they'll have 15 calendar days to respond to you with either a yes or a no. And if they say yes, they'll send you an assessment plan. You will have 15 calendar days to review the plan and to respond to the district and provide your written consent to complete the assessments. Once the district gets your written consent, they'll have 60 calendar days to complete the assessment and schedule the ITP meeting. So that's a long way to say yes, they can complete the assessments now. Any other questions?
That's all the questions for now.
Is that okay? That was a great question. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the mic over to Anna now, and she's going to go over some slides on some more goals and in the ITP.
Anna, you're muted.
Okay, sorry about
There
that.
we go.
No
A little
problem.
technical difficulty. But anyways, thank you, Paula, for sharing with us a little bit about the purpose of ITP and also the post-secondary goals. These here are some of the things that they will be looking for at the ITP meeting. In the area of education, they will look at is the student expressing any interest or desire, or is the student undecided at this time? Is the student looking to go to a 2 to 4 year college or university with support or without support? Is the student interested, or is the student interested in technical or trade school with support or without support? Or maybe the student, or maybe you, the student, is interested in military training, or maybe you, the student, is interested in adult education classes, or even special adult classes. Or maybe there's some other area of education or training that you the student are interested in. So these are, you know, some of the areas that they will be looking at in terms of the area of education. In terms of the area of employment, they will probably look at things like is this student interested in competitive employment without support or with support, long-term or short-term? Or is the student looking for adult vocational training? Or maybe there's some other form of employment that the student is looking for. In terms of the residential aspect, they will probably look at is the student interested in living at home with the parents or relatives, or is the student looking to looking for independent living with no support, or independent living with occasional supports, or maybe independent living with daily supports? Or is the student looking for supported apartment or community living arrangement? Or maybe the student is looking for a group home with 24-hour supervision and training, or maybe a group home with skilled nursing care, or maybe a facility-based like nursing home, etc., or maybe even some other method of residential living that the student is looking for. Another area that they will be looking at is community activities. So how they will be participating in, how the student will participate in the community activities. So are they going to be participating independently, or are they going to be participating with family support, with agency support, or are they going to get support in some other way, or are they going to be participating in community activities in any other way? So community activities is another area that they'll be looking at. And in terms of the ITP activities, one way to determine if there is a coordinated set of activities is to look at each ITP beginning at age 16 or younger if appropriate, and to determine if the activities and services from year to year assist with that movement to post school setting. And your ITP activities should focus on increasing your academic and independent living skills so you can transition smoothly from high school to college, a vocational training program, employment, or other post-high school activities. Each ITP should have different activities, not the same area or activity marked every year necessarily, but think about how each ITP goal, activity, or service assists you in achieving your post-secondary goals or outcomes. Activities or set of activities can be, they should be to help you meet your goals for your life after high school. So your set of activities, they may include activities such as instructional services, which can be any classes that help you get the skills you need to meet your long-term goals. So for example, like if you want to work with computers, your instructional service will be a class on computers. Or if you want to be a cook, your instructional service can be assignments to help you learn to read recipes. Or your ITP activities can include community experiences, and community experiences can help with your participation in your community. An example of a community experience is maybe helping you meet people in your community that will support you in achieving your goals and living independently. Most communities have a variety of resources to help students with transition process. Examples are local youth employment programs and summer jobs for youth programs. Local vocational centers also offer training in many occupations. Another ITP activities may include employment-related objectives, which can help you help inform you on what jobs might be available in your area. They can also provide insight into what you need to do to qualify and prepare for training, college, or supported employment after high school. And also another ITP activities may include related services. Related services are services other than instructions to help you achieve your education goals. So examples of related services are speech therapy, occupational therapy, career guidance, transportation to vocational training or independent living sites, counseling services to help you learn coping skills related to going to college or work, and social services, social work services to help you connect with agencies that can help you meet your long-term goals. And then finally, another ITP activity it may include is independent living skills. And independent living skills can help you if you need practice in activities like preparing meals, shopping, budgeting, maintaining a home, paying bills, grooming, or traveling on public transportation, which all those Paula had talked about in the previous slides. So yeah, so all those components, instructional services, community experiences, employment related objectives, related services, and independent living skills, they all may be ITP activities that may be included. So some examples. As discussed, transition plans can vary widely in terms of how they're set up, so and how long and detailed they are. So some might be just a few paragraphs, while others can be like few pages. But it is important to remember that all plans must include a description of your strengths and interests, which, as mentioned, it's measurable goals for after high school, including school, work, and independent living, as well as services to help you achieve those goals. No matter what format your transition plan comes in, it should include all three of these areas. By law, you must also be, you as a student must also be involved in creating this plan, as we've mentioned earlier. And so here are some printable downloads to help you shape your own ideas of what should be in your transition plan. You will all get these slides. It'll be put in the chat, as well as if you're not able to access it through chat, we can also email it to you if you leave your email with us. So yeah, these are some printable downloads to help you. And so some of the examples here are examples of language and how to format your and the format your school might use. And so some of these resources are for college-bound students, as well as others are for career-bound students. And there's also a printable download that is a blank version that you can fill out with things that you think should be in your plan. So you could just write down your ideas on there, and you can use these worksheets during your conversations with your parents and the IEP team about planning for your future. So these worksheets are just to help you as you do your transition planning. Next, do we have any questions at this point?
No questions right now, Anna.
Okay, then I'm gonna pass the mic to Paula, back to Paula again, and she'll be talking about agencies that can help you in the transition process.
Thank you so much, Anna. That was great. So, like Anna said, let's talk about some agencies that can be involved with you as you go through the your transition plan, and these agencies can support you. So we do have slides on some of them, and we'll go to the slides on those. If we don't have a slide on them, I'm going to go ahead and talk about them as we go through this list. Okay, so I may skip over some right now just because I know we're going to talk about them on a slide coming up. So the Department of Rehabilitation, making sure I didn't skip any. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. They can help with the transition. Social Security Administration can also help with transition. We have a slide on that one. Department of Mental Health, we don't have a slide on that, but that's County Department of Mental Health. They can help people who qualify for their services. They can help provide individual therapy, family therapy, medication, emergency care, you know, and medication prescription, that type of thing. And then let's see, and then regional occupation program. I don't think we have a slide on that, but that is a program that there's different ways that is configured, but sometimes it's configured by a school district and a county office of education joining together to provide the ROP program, as it's called, or sometimes school districts combine together to provide ROP programs, or sometimes one district will provide the program to its students. But those are, it's kind of like an independent study, and it's typically provides some type of certification for culinary arts, mechanics, computer they work on computer skills, that type of thing. Or you can just take an individual class there if you need to brush up on a specific skill like computer literacy. That you may need some help with that. Community colleges, we have a slide on that, and community and state universities on that one as well. And then the California Department of Developmental Services, who oversee the 21 regional centers that we have in California. So we do have a slide on regional centers as well. And then Job Corps. This is a really wonderful program that's under the umbrella of the U.S. Department of Labor. And this program is available to students age 16 to 24. It's available to all students, whether or not you have an IEP or a 504 plan. It's available to any student. And if for some reason you leave school before you get your diploma, you can earn your diploma at Job Corps. They help you to develop employment skills. You can get your high school diploma equivalency there. And while you're getting your high school diploma, while you're learning your employment skills, you live on campus. So this is a great program where students actually live on campus. You can, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that you can stay there for a couple of years, and then they will follow you. They'll help you to write a resume, and they will follow you for the first year that you leave their program and that you're employed. They will follow you and support you in your employment. So that's a really good program to look into. And I know this isn't on the list, but we have one-stop programs. They typically, each city will have one. And you can go there. It's open to all people, but you can go there and use computers. This is during typical times. I'm not sure if they're open now, but typically you can go there. They have computers that you can use for job searches. They'll help you write resumes, and they provide job fairs so that you can go and apply for jobs. And they provide all kinds of job opportunities or access to employers who are looking to hire. Independent living centers. We don't have a slide on this, but independent living centers are centers that are developed to help people who have disabilities, and they're run by people who have disabilities. So independent living centers will help with, if you need help with housing and funding rent, if you need help, with learning independent living skills, if you need to brush up on your computer skills, if they also do a lot of advocacy and to help people who have disabilities. So that's another great support for people who have disabilities, especially as you're going into adulthood. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So we're going to talk about some of these agencies a little bit more in depth. So how does Regional Center help with transition? So the Regional Center coordinator can help by going over and helping to go over and update the individual program plan, or the IPP as your plan in Regional Center is called. So they can help develop the IPP and talk about the services that need to be in the IPP, maybe community-based programs that will help you in transition, and also they can coordinate with the school district to provide transition services. So the Regional Center Case Coordinator is somebody who could be invited to your ITP meeting. Okay, the Regional Center Case Coordinator also can help you by finding and setting up supports and informed services. And they can also, like we said, attend your ITP or IEP meetings. They can help set up services for transition. I think I already said that. And they can help with independent living skills and training. If you need help with learning safety, reading safety signs and understanding safety, help with mobility training, they can help with that. And of course, they can help with housing as well. So all of these things can be discussed at your IPP meeting. And they can also set up day activities. So when you become an adult, if you want to participate in day activities, they can help set up that program. They can help with transportation and help you learn transportation, but also help in finding out what transportation options are available to you. And they can help with supported employment. So along with Department of Rehabilitation and school districts, they can help to fund employment opportunities for regional center consumers. And I know that at Task, before COVID-19 hit and we started working remotely, and even, well, it was a year or so ago now, but we had some regional center consumers who worked at Task through the paid internship program. And so what happened is the Department of Rehabilitation funded this program. They gave regional center money so that they could then pay the consumers to work at community agencies. And so Task supported the program by being an employer for 3 of the regional center consumers. And then regional center used the money that the Department of Rehab sent them to pay the consumers for the work that they did at Task to help us out. And so they did all kinds of things at Task that were very, very helpful to us. And it's a great program. So there's other agencies that are also participate in the paid internship program. So talk to the case coordinator if you're interested in having your child, or if you as a student are interested in participating in a paid internship program. That's one way that you can learn job skills and get paid to do the work. And you get equal pay as other, you get at least minimum wage to do the work. And also your case coordinator can help set up respite so that your care provider or the care provider can get help to give them a break so that they can do other things that you might need them to do to support you in your transition plan. Okay, next slide. Let's talk about community colleges and universities. So there's a I just lost it. Okay, so there is a center on community college campuses and also on college university campuses, and it's called Disabled Student Services Program, DSPS. I think I said that wrong, but it's called DSPS is the acronym. And this is a center that you can go to. You can go and sign up there with your IEP, or if you have a 504 plan, or a note from your doctor stating that you have a disability. You can show that to them, and if you meet the criteria for the services, then you'll be able to get accommodations in your classes, such as, for testing. Maybe you need a quiet place to take the test. So the DSPS Center can help find a quiet place for you to take the test. They'll work with you and the professor on that, or and then maybe you need a note taker in class, or maybe you need to have more time to take the test. So these are accommodations that they can offer. They also have assistive technology that you can borrow so that you can access different classes and courses. They can help advocate for you if your professor will not allow you to have the accommodations that you need in order to participate in the class. And I want to be really to explain that when you go to college, you will not have a Section 504 accommodation plan, and you won't have an IEP. Those types of services end when you leave high school, okay? You'll be protected under Section 504. Your civil rights will be protected, but you won't have an educational plan, and you won't have a plan, an IEP. So those things will end once you leave high school. But you can get accommodations, and you'll sit down with a counselor at the DSPS Center, and you'll go over the types of accommodations that you need. And then the center will have rules that you'll need to follow in order to let them know that you need help with testing, or you need a quiet place to take a test, or you're going to need a reader for the test. They're going to need to know those things. So typically they need a 2-week window. You let them know a couple of weeks in advance that, hey, I'm going to have a test coming up on this day. Can you please get me a quiet place to take the room? Can you please have someone to read me the questions, or I need a scribe to write my answers down. So they're going to need a couple of weeks to make sure that they have somebody to help with that. The DSPS Center can also help with tutoring if you need help with that. And also, if you qualify for DSPS services, you get preferential parking. And you'll also get preferential registration, which is great because a lot of times, especially when you're starting in school, in the university or college, community college setting, classes fill up quickly. And so because you get to register before the other students register, you'll be guaranteed to get the classes that you want. Now, I want to take a minute to explain that you don't have to disclose to a college or a university that you have a disability as an adult, okay? But if you choose not to disclose to the college or the university, then they don't have to provide you with accommodations, and you won't be protected under the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, or Section 504. Those are 2 civil rights laws that protect students with disabilities. So if the community college or university doesn't know that you have a disability, then you don't have the protections under the disability laws. If they do know that you have a disability, then you have the right to ask for accommodations, and you have the protections under those laws that I just mentioned. Okay, okay, let's go to the next slide. Oh, and also I forgot to mention that under community colleges and universities, you can get job experience assistance. So the Department of Rehabilitation works in conjunction with community colleges and universities under a program called Workability 3, which would be for community colleges, and Workability 4, which would be for universities. And so they will fund job experience programs so that students can get assistance in learning how to work. And typically the experience will be on the college campus, and then you'll be paid to do the work so that you can get job experience. And if you need a job coach, then of course the one can be provided for you as part of your training. Okay, so let's go to the California Department of Rehabilitation. So this California Department of Rehabilitation is a wonderful organization, and its primary goal is to help you obtain or maintain employment. And in order to qualify for Department of Rehab services, you have to have a disability that substantially impacts your ability to obtain or maintain gainful employment. And so the California Department of Rehabilitation can help while you're in high school. They can help with competitive integrated employment. And I think Anna has talked about that, and I mentioned briefly about that too, how they can help train high school students through different programs and pay a minimum wage or higher, so that you will get paid equal wage to do a job and learn job skills. And you can have a job coach with that or not. They also, they also will help you if you are going to seek employment once you leave high school. If you're going to seek employment, they can help you learn how to write a resume. They can help you learn how to interview for a job. They can provide you with interview clothing or a wardrobe. They can provide and help you with transportation so you can get to a job interview. And then they can help you obtain a job if you need someone to be with you when you're first learning the job, to coach you along the way. They can also help with that too. Now, Department of Rehabilitation has a program, and it's called the Individual Plan for Employment, or the IPE. And so you will let them know what your post-secondary goal is. Okay, so if you're planning on going, I want to work at a nursery, let's say for flowers, right, in gardening, I want to work in a plant nursery, and so I'd love to get a job doing that right out of high school. So that's going to be your IPE, is that you're going to get a job working in a nursery. And so they could help you interview for jobs, like I said, write the resume, and search for jobs, okay? But let's say that your IPE goal is that, you know, I want to work as a teacher. Okay, so that's going to require a lot of college education. So then the Department of Rehabilitation, your IPE, that would be your goal, but part of your IPE, in order to meet your goal, is going to be, you're going to have to get a college education. So if you cannot afford college and you've exhausted all funding opportunities for college and you still cannot get funding, then you can go to your Department of Rehab counselor and say, you know what, I've exhausted, here's where I've looked for funding and I cannot find it. So then at that point, the Department of Rehab may be able to fund some or all of your college tuition, but you have to show good faith effort that you made every effort to try to fund your education. They can also help fund books. They can provide assistive technology so you can participate in your college education. They can provide tutoring and note takers, and so their job is to help you obtain employment. And if education's what you need to be able to obtain employment, then they can help with that. And then to maintain employment, they can help by helping you to get a job once you get your college degree, and then they can also provide assistive technology on the job for you. And actually, they have helped me. So in order for me to fulfill my job requirements at task, I need a lot of assistive technology as a person who is blind. And so I use JAWS, which is a screen reader. I use a Braille device that I told you about tonight that I'm using, a Braille note taker, and a tablet. So I'm using that in order to provide this training. And Department of Rehab purchased those items for me so that I can work at task. And without those items, I wouldn't be able to maintain my employment. I could have gotten a job, but I wouldn't have been able to keep working if I didn't have this specialized assistive technology. So the Department of Rehab is making it possible for me to work at task by providing me with the assistive technology that I require to work. So these are just some of the ways that the Department of Rehab can help. And you can self-refer. You don't need to go through the school district to refer, unless you're going to go through the high school integrated employment. Then the school works with the Department of Rehab to do that. But as an adult, you can self-refer. Once you're 18, you can go ahead and make a referral on your own. You can just go to your local Department of Rehab office, and you can Google Department of Rehab offices, and you can type in your zip code, and then it will show you the local office that's closest to you. Okay, let's go to the next slide, which is workability. We've talked about this a little bit before. There's different workability programs. Workability is funded by the California Department of Education and the Department of Rehabilitation. And then Department of Rehabilitation will work with students who need specialized assistance in learning job skills, and they can fund workability programs. There's 4 different types. So there's Workability 1, which is a workability program that's available to high school students, and they can get they can learn job skills while getting paid to do a job while they're in high school. And not all high schools have this program, so you need to check with your district to see if your high school participates in Workability 1. But if not, then there's a really good chance that they're participating in the Competitive Integrated Employment Program. So check with your district to see what program they might be participating in. Then there's Workability 2, which is available if you're attending a regional occupation program. There's Workability 3, which is available if you're attending a community college, and we spoke about that before. And then there's also Workability 4 if you're attending a 4-year university. Okay, next slide. So let's talk about the Social Security Administration. So this is an agency that helps people who need financial assistance. And there's two programs in particular that apply to people who have disabilities. There's Supplemental Security Income and there's Social Security Disability Insurance. So in order to qualify for SSI, or Supplemental Security Income, you need to have a disability that is that keeps you from being gainfully employed and that is expected to last for 12 months or end in death, one or the other. And so if you, that's the first requirement. And the second one is income. So if you're a child, you can receive Supplemental Security Income if your parents meet the income guidelines. But then once you turn age 18, then only your income will be taken into consideration. So it's a little bit easier to, if you're 18 and you're not working yet, you haven't found a job, and it's a little bit easier to apply based on your income alone, okay, for Supplemental Security Income. And there's special guidelines that you have to follow. You can't have more than $2,000 in the bank, and you need to do certain things. But if you qualify, you will get assistance in providing money for you to live, for housing, clothing, and food under Supplemental Security Income. And then there's also a program called the PASS program that if you put money into this PASS program, and you want to save to help meet an employment goal. Let's say that you have an orthopedic disability and you need to have a specialized van that you're going to drive so that you can get to your future jobs, right? You can take, you can work and put money into that PASS account, and they won't count that income against you because you can only earn a certain amount of money every month, or they start taking away from your Supplemental Security Income check. But if you have a PASS program, you can work and put the money that you earn into that PASS program, and that money that you earn then won't be counted against your Supplemental Security Income. So that's a good program, I think, to get involved with if you're planning on purchasing maybe a computer so that you can work, a laptop, a specialized van, whatever your work employment needs are going to be for the future. And then if you're going to, in order to qualify for SSDI, in order to qualify for that, it's a person who is disabled who has worked and has paid into the SSDI program. Then maybe you're disabled and you've worked and you've paid into that program, but then you're not able to work because your disability has altered your ability to work, or you have new manifestations. Or you're newly disabled, and you've worked, you've paid into SSDI, and so now you want to be able to access those benefits. So then you can apply and you can start receiving your SSDI if your eligibility, if is approved by the Social Security Administration. Okay, so you have to meet the eligibility criteria in order to be able to participate in the SSDI program. Now, if you're the child of a qualifying adult who receives SSDI, then you can receive SSDI. And as a child, your parents can receive SSDI for you. But then once you turn age 18, if you're the parent of a child who receives SSDI, then you'll start receiving the SSDI payment as well. And again, you can have a payee account for either SSI or SSDI, and someone can be designated as your payee to help you with budgeting the money and managing the money, or you can go ahead and have your own account and you can budget and manage the money. Let's see. Okay, so I think we've talked about those. And then, of course, there's Medi-Cal that can help with your medical expenses as an adult. And they will make sure, they'll pay for hospitalization, medication, doctor visits, therapy visits, and that type of thing. And then there's Denti-Cal, which will pay for your dental insurance, or your dental visits, I should say. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So let's talk about students and self-advocacy. Okay. So it's really, really important as a student to be able to advocate for yourself. Advocacy is being able to speak up and tell people about what you want and need and what it will take to help you get those things. So I think the first step in being a good self-advocate is understanding your disability. If you don't understand your disability, it's going to be really, really hard for you to explain it to other people and also to know what kinds of accommodations and services will help you, right? So understand your disability and embrace that disability. It's a part of you. It's like having brown eyes, blonde hair, you know, being short, being tall. It is another characteristic of who you are. It doesn't define who you are. It just is another aspect of who you are. So understanding that is really important. And we talked about earlier, you know, about disclosing your disability. You don't have to disclose your disability. That is up to you as an individual. Once you reach age 18, nobody needs to even know. If you have a physical disability like me, I'm blind, I travel with a guide dog. People automatically know that I'm blind when I walk into a room because I'm traveling with a service animal and she has all kinds of signs on her that say that she's a guide dog. And if I don't have her, then they'll know because I'll run into something. So my disability is very obvious. Other people, though, have disabilities that are not obvious. They have hidden disabilities or invisible disabilities. And so if you have one of those disabilities, then you may not want to disclose that you have a disability, or you might only want to disclose certain aspects of your disability that, you know, where you need to get help, that will allow you to get help. So we talked about before, if you go to school and college and you choose not to disclose your disability, then the disability protections under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, as well as the Americans with Disability Act and other disability laws, they're not going to pertain to you. And your employer, let's say you're working, and let's say that you require a lot of breaks because you tire easily, but you haven't disclosed your disability to your employer, right? And so they say, they see you in the break room all the time taking breaks, but they don't know that you tire easily because you haven't disclosed that to them. So they can pull you into their office and say, you know what, this is your first warning, you're taking too many breaks. And let's say you still don't disclose your disability. So then the next time they talk to you, they can say, we've warned you, you know, we're going to have to let you go. Unfortunately, this isn't working out for us. And they can do it because you chose not to disclose your disability. So there's pros and cons to disclosing. And when and how you do that is up to you. Okay, it's an individual choice. But I think the first step is understanding your disability, because you might not need to disclose all of your disability. Maybe you have a medical condition and you don't want to disclose that to your employer, but you do want to disclose to them that you tire easily, and so you'd like to ask for an accommodation of frequent breaks. That's all you would need to do, because that's the part of your job that's going to be impacted by your disability. Okay. And so that applies, like we said, to school or to employment. And so also part of being a good self-advocate is understanding your strengths, your needs, and identifying your personal goals and things that you need to work on, you know, and also being able to speak up for yourself and saying what you want, saying what you need, and doing it appropriately. Describe your abilities to other people, but also describe, you know, how they can best help you. And you need to take responsibility for yourself. It's not up to other people to know how to help you. They probably won't know how to help you because a lot of people have never met a person with a disability before. So we can't, as people with disabilities, we can't expect them to understand how we're going to need help. It's up to us to teach them and to do it in a professional way. So an example of maybe helping other people to understand your disability and how they can best help you would be, for me, I travel with a guide dog, but for whatever reason, there are times where I'm just not hearing the traffic signal, or I might need some sight guide assistance in crossing the street. And so people can come up and they can tell I'm lost or confused or whatever. They may come up and say, can I help you? And I'll say, oh, yes. And then before I get a chance to explain how I would like help, I have been grabbed by the arm or by the elbow or by the hand and kind of pushed off the curb into the street, and which is very, very disconcerting if you're blind to be grabbed or pushed, because it's frightening. You don't know if there's a step. You don't know if traffic is coming. I mean, you can hear the cars going by, but you don't know where they are. So it's my job to stop and say, oh, thank you so much for your help. It's much easier if I hold onto your arm. That way I can feel where how your body is moving, and I can tell if there's a curb, and I can tell, about, when I need to step up after we cross the street. So is it okay if I hold onto your arm? And everybody is so nice. They'll say yes. And so I show them what I need. I show them how I'm going to hold on to their arm. We get across the street and I thank them. And that starts a conversation in many cases about, ability and helping and that type of thing. Or sometimes they just walk on and we both say, thanks so much. Have a nice day. And they say, have a nice day. And we go on. But whatever it is, that you've helped to teach that person in the moment, and you've helped to advocate for yourself and explain what kind of help you need, what is really helpful, So speak up and practice on your family if you need to. Okay, learn about your rights and responsibilities under special education, under employment, under the civil rights that protect you as an adult. And identify people at your job or on the community college campus or in your high school that you can go to for help and that you can ask questions for. And learn to really listen and learn. Don't just say, and then go off if somebody's trying to explain something to you. Let them finish explaining, and if you need to, take notes so that you can really understand what your employer is asking of you, what your professor is asking of you, what your tutor is explaining to you. Listen to what people are saying and follow the directions that they're giving to you. Okay, next slide. And also participate in trainings like you're doing tonight. If you are a youth and you're participating in the training tonight. So how can parents help your child, to advocate? How can you help advocate for your child? So of course you can participate in the IEP and ITP meetings, of course, and you will be speaking at the meeting until your child turns 18. And if they sign the the assignment of educational decision-making authority form giving you permission to continue to speak for them, you'll speak after they're 18. Or if you get conservatorship, you can continue to speak for them after age 18 at ITP meetings. You can also ask the regional center case coordinator to participate in the IEP and ITP meetings. And you can also participate in the IPP meetings at the regional center, the individual program plan meetings. Help teach your child to self-advocate and let them practice at home. Let them speak up, let them express their opinions and their needs. And we've already talked about inviting the case coordinator. Learn about available community agencies that can help, like TASK. Please use our resources. Please use us to support you and your student as you're going through the individual transition plan or the IEP process, or as you're going through community college, getting employment, whatever the case may be. Reach out to TASK. We'd love to help. And there's other great organizations out there that are available to help as well. Family resource centers, family empowerment centers, parent training and information centers like TASK. Down Syndrome Association, Autism Society, there's a lot of other agencies out there. And then invite agencies that can help to provide information and provide beneficial information to your ITP meetings. Learn about assistive technology. We mentioned before that we have an assistive technology lab, and access our assistive technology services. That's a really good resource. And like I said before, you can have a Zoom meeting with a technology specialist, or you can attend their wonderful webinars. You can go on our website to see what webinars TASK is offering, including the Family Support Specialist webinars and also the Assistive Technology webinars. And then keep detailed and organized records. It's really important to have organized records at home. And then teach your child independent living, communication, social, recreation, self-advocacy, and self-determination skills at home. It's very important for them to learn those things. And then learn about your rights and responsibilities as part of the process of working with the ITP team. Okay. And then at this point, if you haven't completed the survey, I'm getting ready. It'll be coming up in a couple of slides. We're going to ask you before you leave the webinar to please complete the survey. And again, if you don't know the answer to a question or it doesn't apply to you, please put NA as your response for that. Completing the survey will help us to continue to receive funding so we can provide free services and also so we can improve our services. Okay, so let's talk about high expectations. We're going to talk about some laws that pertain to students who have disabilities while they're in high school, and also that will follow them into adult life. Excuse me, I took a small drink of water there. Okay, so the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. We've been referring to this law throughout the webinar. This is the federal law that governs special education. It makes all of the requirements for the IEP meeting and the IEP document, and it also requires the ITP, or the Individual Transition Plan, to be written as part of the IEP. Okay, and this law pertains to students for Part B, pertains to students from age 3 all the way up to age 22, or until you graduate with a diploma. So once the student either graduates with a diploma or leaves school at age 22, the protections under this law and the educational rights and responsibilities end. The idea does not follow you into adulthood. Okay, it will end as soon as you leave high school. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 is another federal law, like the idea. This law has educational components that apply to students as long as they're in school, in high school, elementary, or high school. And so just like the idea, a student can receive free appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment with related services and supplementary aids and supports, and they can receive fair assessments. But as soon as you leave high school, those educational components of Section 504 no longer apply to you. They don't apply in college. However, Section 504 the civil rights component of that law will continue to protect you as an adult. So they will protect you in any organization that receives federal funding or any federal agency. So if you go to college and that college is funded by is funded with federal dollars, then they need to comply and follow Section 504. And Section 504 says that you can't be discriminated against if you have a disability, and you need to have access to all programs as everybody else, and you need to have the assistive technology that you require in order to either do your job or to participate in college or in other community activities. So this protection will stay with you for life. Also, there's another civil rights law, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and this law requires all agencies, federal, state, and local agencies, as well as private agencies, to give access to all programs. So they need to make their programs accessible to people who have disabilities. They need to remove physical barriers to buildings, and they cannot discriminate against people who have disabilities. This law also provides for assistive technology to help people who have disabilities as well, to make programs accessible. And these protections stay with you throughout your lifetime, okay, for the rest of your life as a person with a disability. Okay, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. This is a federal law, and this recently reauthorized the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. This law mandates that the Department of Rehabilitation work with youth. It used to be that Department of Rehab only worked with youth, when they were in their senior year of high school, but this law mandates that they start working with youth at a much earlier age in school, in high school. I believe, students 14 and 15 can start working in competitive integrated employment. And so the Department of Rehab in California is partnering with school districts and with regional centers in order to make this happen for students in school. And they're doing this through the Competitive Integrated Employment Program that we've been talking about all evening. And also, this law also makes sure that equal employment is available to all people. Okay, but the main change in this law is that youth need to have access to competitive integrated employment at a much younger age now, so that they can have job opportunities and experience. The Olmstead decision. This decision by the Supreme Court, the federal Supreme Court, was handed down, and this enables people who would otherwise have to live in an institution to receive the supports that they need so that they can live in the community. They can live either at home, in a group setting, or in one of the other settings that Anna went over when she talked about housing. So this helps people to stay in the community rather than having to live in an institution. And then the Higher Education Opportunity Act. This applies to all people, whether or not you have a disability. But the important thing about this law, as of 2008, people who have intellectual disabilities can now apply for Pell Grants and other grants that are available to all other students. And prior to the reauthorization of this law in 2008, students with intellectual ability did not have access to Pell Grants or the other grants. So that was a big change there. Okay, so we are now to the survey slide. We want to thank you for participating in this webinar. Please, we ask you if you'll complete the survey again. And at this time, please let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Yes, Paula, we have a couple.
Okay.
Can I have more information about the PASS program, and is that the same as the ABLE account? And another person is asking, what is the PASS program?
Okay, so no. Okay, so the PASS program is offered through the Social Security Administration, and that program is available to people who receive supplemental security income. It's a separate program. And you'd have to work with the Social Security Administration. So when you apply for supplemental security income, so you need to do that for your child a month before they turn age 18 or so. Start applying for that, and when you do, let them know that your child is going to have employment goals, and they want to work toward, or they're going to need to save money so that they can purchase equipment so that they can work, such as a computer, a laptop, maybe an FM device if they have a hearing loss, maybe a Braille device like I'm using, Braille note taker. But they're going to be working. Let them know that they're going to be earning money, but they're going to be putting it into this. They want to put it into the PASS account. So it's a special account that's funded by the student or the adult that has a disability, and then they put into that account, but their income isn't counted against them for SSI purposes. Typically, if you work and you receive SSI, you lose income. They count it against you. So, but if you're putting your earnings into a PASS account, then your earnings won't be counted against you. You won't lose any money on SSI. So when you apply for SSI, ask them about the PASS account. And to answer the second question, PASS and the ABLE account are separate. So the ABLE account is offered through through California, I believe the Treasury Department. Don't quote me on that. Okay, I'm not an ABLE Act expert, but you can go, you can Google it. You can Google ABLE Act, and how do I set up an ABLE account? And I was just on the ABLE Act website yesterday, and they go through it step by step and what you need to do. And it's under our Department of Treasury, I believe, in California. They kind of oversee the ABLE Act program. So that's where you can save money as a person with a disability. You can save money in the ABLE account up to $100,000 a year. You can. Don't quote me on the year. Don't quote me on, I know it's $100,000. I don't know if it's every year or if it's for your lifetime, but you could save up to $100,000 in your ABLE account, and you won't lose your Medi-Cal and you won't lose your SSI. Typically, you can only have $2,000 in the bank, but if you put your money into an ABLE account, you can save without losing your government benefits. And okay, and Denise, did that answer the second question as well?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions, or do you need me to clarify that question? Did you understand that response?
There's no other questions. I think you answered it already.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. So if you think of something along the way and you'd like more information about something, please email us and at the task email address, and we'll be happy to connect you with a family support specialist who can answer your questions. And again, if you want to go over your ITP plan with us, if you want to sit down with a family support specialist and go over your ITP plan, your IEP plan, if you want to go over an assessment report, we do provide individual consults like Anna talked about, and we do it through Zoom or over the telephone. You can email your documents to us, and we'd be happy to review those for you. And so just please email us, and we'll connect you with a family support specialist who can call you and then talk with you about your concerns, your questions, and give you options. And then if you both feel the need to have an IEP consult to review documents, then we'd be happy to schedule one of those for you. Okay, so we want to thank you again for joining us this evening. We hope you have a great rest of your evening.